one. Welcome to Extra Innings Podcast with Andrew and Mason, where we're going to talk all things sports. Today, at a later time in the video, you'll see the interview with Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum. It was a really good interview, so please watch all the way through. But first, we're going to talk about some things that happen in sports. So, Mason, if you would like to unmute, we'll talk about first things first, baseball, and that is with the Rays and the Padres
Rays?
and the Cubs, Cubs, Rays, all of them getting the Snell and Darvish going to the Padres, making the Padres probably the front runner.
The Padres have a chance. Who'd they get? They got knocked out in the wild card by the Dodgers last season,
Dodgers
right?
Did
so, and the problem was their pitching. Now they picked up Darvish and they picked up Blake Snell.
And so they already have Mike Clevenger and Dinelson Lamet, who came on the scene last year.
And they managed to keep their top 5 prospects. I think the Padres and they're I read on ESPN that those top 5 prospects are most likely to make a run and get pulled up in 2021. So there's a very, very good chance that the Padres at least make it to the NLCS this year. If they get stopped by, I can't really imagine a team that can stop them right now. They've got the pitching. Obviously, they've got the hitting. They showed that last year with Machado and Tatis especially. Eric Hosmer went off a little bit. So they show they have what it takes.
To me, complete-wise, in a battle between Dodgers and Padres, I'd take Dodgers hitting-wise because I feel like they have the more complete hitting all around the diamond with Bellinger, Seager, Turner.
Yeah.
Everyone on their team can hit, really. But pitching-wise, I feel like, yes, Dustin May's good, but he hasn't completely proven himself. Walker Buehler is obviously the ace there.
Think before you speak. Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Dustin May, not Kenley Jansen anymore. He's kind of shit now, but they've got a good starting rotation.
I still take the Padres because they have 4. Dinelson Lamet proved himself last year that he can be a number 3 guy. Mike Clevenger, obviously, is number 2 stuff. Snell is an ace, and Darvish proved last year that he could probably he came back to his Texas Rangers form last year, and he dominated. Probably could have won Cy Young. Was in the running for Cy Young, definitely. So, I think the Padres might. Well, in my eyes, probably will win it all.
If they continue to rebuild, I think they've got a shot at 2022. I don't think they're taking 2021. 2022, though, they have a shot.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so with that being done with baseball, let's talk some basketball because, it's all things sports, like we said. Basketball, KD and Kyrie were out a couple nights ago and just resting.
Not good for the Nets.
The Nets lost, but then the night the KD and Kyrie come back, they win again, and KD and Kyrie are proving themselves to be their form that we used to see, that we are used to seeing from those two guys. And I think the Nets probably have one of the best dynamic duos in basketball. I mean, you can put AD and LeBron up there, but KD and Kyrie can move the ball really well, and KD might be the best scorer of all time.
KD's in the front running. Obviously it's really early in the season. We're in the first week of the season, but if KD keeps playing at a fraction of what he's playing right now, he's obviously going to be front running for MVP. Whereas Giannis, on the other hand, who
he's playing really bad right now.
Everybody expected to come out of the gate on fire. Giannis isn't exactly doing well. There's not much. Everybody predicted KD was going to come back and do well, but nobody predicted KD was going to come back and do this well.
Oh, yeah. KD, like I said, will probably go down as the greatest scorer of all time just because, you don't see a 7-footer moving the way he does and being able to shoot the ball the way he does and being able to play the point guard position almost at 7 foot tall. I mean, I guess you can put Nikola Jokic in there, maybe. But at the end of the day, I think KD will probably win MVP. If he doesn't, I'd be shocked, as long as he keeps up with his rate that he's playing.
And he has to keep healthy. That's another problem. He has to stay healthy, obviously, which I think that might be one reason that he doesn't get MVP is if the Nets coaching staff keeps him benched more this season because they want to keep him healthy. Obviously, he was injured for the majority of the season last year.
No, he was injured all year last year.
Yeah, he wants to stay healthy. Everybody wants him to stay healthy. Nobody wants a relapse of anything. Obviously, COVID's a big worry for everybody. So as long as he stays healthy, which isn't exactly likely, then he's definitely in the front running for MVP.
Yeah, and so I'll have to talk about this one because Mason actually does not talk much football, but football talk.
I'm working on it.
We're gonna talk MVP race. You've got Rodgers and Mahomes, obviously, but a very sneaky third place is Josh Allen. He's putting up stats with the Bills. The Bills are in a perfect spot. They will probably give the Chiefs a run for their money if they have to face them in the AFC Championship game. But I'd still, looking at it, I'd say Rodgers right now. Give me Rodgers for MVP. Only throwing 5 interceptions. He's got, I'm pretty sure, 40 plus touchdowns.
Holy shit, is that it? See, I wish I would watch more football now because that's incredible.
40 plus touchdowns, and his team is 12-3 right now. They've are first place right now in the NFC. They are the favorite in the NFC side to win the Super Bowl. The NFC side to go to the Super Bowl, not win it. I think the Chiefs still are favorites for Super Bowl in the NFL, but from what I saw on ESPN today is actually Rodgers, the crew at ESPN gives Rodgers the highest rate right now, the highest odds to win MVP. So any of you guys that are betting on MVP, put your money on Rodgers. I think Rodgers should definitely win it.
Unless you have a lot of money, then obviously put it on one. I don't know. I'd put it on Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't put it on Patrick Mahomes because I don't know if you saw or not. Jackson Mahomes made that TikTok video. Dave Portnoy duetted it and kind of made Jackson Mahomes look a little silly because Dave Portnoy, as we all know, is an absolute legend. Unfortunately for him, he's a Patriots fan. Patriots lost to Josh Allen and the Bills on Sunday.
Yeah, they didn't lose.
We watched that game together. That was not good.
Josh Allen actually has thrown more touchdowns in Gillette Stadium, which is the New England home field, than Cam Newton, who is the Patriots' starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's not a good thing. You don't want that stat on your stat line if you're asking me.
Cam Newton had 2 good seasons, and then he kind of just started steadily going downhill.
Injury, obviously, you see it. Injuries messes with everyone. But yeah, like I said, to me, give me Rodgers for MVP.
That's one stat. That's one record that I think will never, ever be broken in any single sport, whether that be baseball, whether that be basketball, whether that be football, whether that be hockey, whether that be golf. Honestly, Cal Ripken Jr.'s record of most consecutive games played will never be broken ever again. Because I'm not saying people are weaker now, but injury is more prevalent because sports are getting rougher, tougher, things like that. But also you see more of these star players, coaches and medical team and everything is looking to keep them on the sidelines, keep them out more. If Mike Trout sprained his finger 2 years ago and he was out for like a week and a half because they didn't want anything to happen to obviously their star player.
Yeah, so you want to preserve your star player as much as you can.
That record's never going to get broken in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to send this over to past self because this is actually a future. And watch the interview. It's a really, really good interview.
Thank you to Bob Kendrick. Yeah, that's probably our best one so far. Yeah,
I'm going to send it over to future me to the intro. Peace. Today we have a special guest to interview, the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum. Please welcome in Bob Kendrick. As he joins in, are you ready? How are you?
I'm well, guys. How are you all?
I'm good.
So we've got a few questions we want to ask you. I'm going to let Andrew go first, and then I'll ask my few questions that I have.
Okay. And Mason, you sound a little bit further away. I couldn't hardly hear you.
All right. Is this a little bit better?
Yeah, that's better. And then maybe I can turn up my audio on my end a little bit too. So.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so my first question is, obviously, when a lot of people that don't know much about the Negro Leagues think of Negro Leagues, they think of Jackie Robinson because, he did so much for baseball in general, but he started off in the Negro Leagues. Is there anyone that when we think of Negro League baseball that we should think of, but
No,
instead of Jackie Robinson.
there are several guys, Andrew, who I would say are kind of the transcending or transformative players from the Negro Leagues that most baseball fans have likely heard their names, even if they don't know how good or how great they were. And the three players that really come immediate to mind are Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and Cool Papa Bell. These are three of the biggest stars amongst a litany of great stars who call the Negro Leagues home. And quite frankly, they're three of the biggest stars in baseball history. Unfortunately, a lot of people just simply don't know about the Negro Leagues. And so they're never kind of talked about when we talk about the greats of baseball. The primary focus seems to always be on the major league ball players. And part of our job and responsibility at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is that when we have these greater discussions about the greats of baseball, that the players from the Negro Leagues are not excluded, that they are indeed included in those conversations. Now, it's not our job to try to make a determination on whether or not these players in the Negro Leagues were better than their white counterparts, but it is our job to make sure that we get them included in those discussions when we talk about the greats. And we want people to know about these legendary ball players who preceded Jackie Robinson. You know, Jackie played just a year here in Kansas City. And so he's well known for his trailblazing role, this pioneering role that he had in breaking baseball's color barrier, which then kind of opened up that pipeline for all of this great Black and Hispanic talent to now move into Major League Baseball. Our primary focus is on those legendary ball players who called the Negro Leagues home long before Jackie did.
So that bridges to our second question. How, if at all, does it really affect you and the museum, the Negro League stats and all those, everything being incorporated into the MLB now? Obviously, you had to have been ecstatic.
Yeah, no, it was exciting. You know, I think it was 2 weeks ago today that the announcement was made. And that's one of the reasons I'm probably talking to you guys today. You know, everybody was so excited, and it's been one interview after another. And that's okay. I love it because it gives us a chance to amplify the work that we've been doing for 30 years as the primary voice of the Negro Leagues. And what Major League Baseball did a couple of weeks ago really elevated the consciousness of a lot of baseball fans who still may not know much about the Negro League, may not know much about the Negro Leagues, but at least it's now on top of mind. And so the stats for me are more conceptual in nature, contextual, I should say. They kind of create a basis for how good the players were in the Negro Leagues. You can never reduce the Negro Leagues to just statistical data alone. That would be doing a disservice to the Negro Leagues. But it was enough to generate the quantitative data that was necessary so that we can now include these names amongst the greatest players in Major League Baseball history when Major League Baseball was segregated, you know, for so many years. And so that's where the milestone occurs. To me, is the historical significance of that moment, even beyond anything else. But no, we were elated, man. And, you know, I was privy to the information before, so I had a little time to kind of reflect and get my emotions in place, you know, in preparation for when this was going to be announced publicly. So it wasn't as much of a surprise to me as it was to so many who may not have seen this coming. But it's been very rewarding to see the overwhelmingly positive response. Now you've got some naysayers out there, some who may not be enamored with the idea that these Negro League players may knock down this legendary major leaguer a notch or two on some kind of all-time list. And you've got some others who will always question what Major League Baseball's real motivation might have been. You know, when you're as large as Major League Baseball, everybody always thinks that there's an ulterior motive to virtually everything you do. But, you know, in this case, they were just doing the right thing. And as I've said on any number of occasions, and as it's been said many times even before, that it is always the right time to do the right thing. And Major League Baseball did the right thing.
So obviously you're very happy still 2 weeks later, very passionate about it. does it kind of feel like all your like hard work that you've been doing for the past however many years like paying off a little bit?
I think so. I think so. You know, we've been at this for 30 years now. And when we started this museum, fellas, we started it in a one-room office about a fraction of the size of my office here now. And we were across the street. At that time, we had no money, but we had a dream that this history deserved to be preserved and celebrated, illuminated, and we needed to educate the public about this piece of baseball and Americana. And so, and with this being the 100th anniversary year of the birth of the Negro Leagues, yeah, Major League Baseball's announcement for me was like the proverbial cherry on top of the sundae. You know, as we close out what has been a difficult and challenging year, not just for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, but for everybody. But we've been able to find ways to win during this year, to keep the celebration alive and relevant. And now Major League Baseball makes this epic and historic announcement. And that really does kind of create additional momentum as we move into 2021 with preparation for our Negro Leagues 101 celebration. So we're going to keep the party going, you know, so celebration is not going to end, you know, just because the 100th anniversary year ends, but this does provide a great deal of momentum. And I was telling a reporter the other day, when we started the museum 30 years ago, we had a mission to preserve and celebrate this history. But there was also this overarching long-range goal of one day rewriting the pages of American history books to include this chapter of baseball and American history, which is not there. And Major League Baseball did in one day what we've essentially been trying to do in 30 years. You know, when they righted a historical wrong. And even though it was starting the process of rewriting their history, for any of us who understand the history of baseball, if you do, you understand the history of this country. They are parallel. And so Major League Baseball has essentially helped us start to that process of rewriting the pages of American history books. So this incredible chapter of triumph over adversity is included in the pages of American history books.
Yeah, that is very true. Obviously, this year was surrounded by COVID, and running a museum, I read that you guys had to close for a bit, or you guys maybe still be closed.
Now we're
What?
open.
Okay. What was the biggest challenge, and what was going through your mind when you had to sit there and debate whether to close or whether to not close during such a big time?
Yeah, it was, man, it was heartbreaking, number one, because we had put so much planning into a year-long 100th anniversary celebration. And we actually kicked off the celebration in February before everything went down. And so February 13th, the Negro Leagues were formed here in Kansas City, literally a stone's throw from my office at the Paseo YMCA. That is where a man named Andrew Foster led a group of 8 independent Black baseball team owners into a meeting that took place at the Paseo YMCA. And out of that meeting came the birth of the Negro National League, the first successful organized Black baseball league. So we go right back into that very building, back into the Paseo YMCA on February 13th, 100 years from the date that the leagues were formed into existence. And guys, we got the commissioner of Major League Baseball with us. We've got representatives from Major League Baseball's Players Association. We've got Mayor Quentin Lucas, the mayor of the great city of Kansas City. My good friend Frank White, who was an 8-time Gold Glove winner. He's in the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame. He's now the Jackson County executive. He's there. John Sherman, who is the new owner of the Kansas City Royal, he's in attendance, and the lieutenant governor of the state of Missouri. So we've got this all-star roster of esteemed guests that's joining us for this milestone commemoration 100 years later. And Major League Baseball and the Players Association announced a joint $1 million contribution to the Negro Leagues Museum. And then we rolled out our plans for what was going to be this year-long celebration, including the first ever National Day of Recognition for the Negro Leagues, where all Major League Baseball teams were going to honor the Negro Leagues on a given day. And that at that time, it was going to be June 27th. And so we're off to a flying start. And we're rolling now. I'm super excited. I'm stoked about what this year's going to bring and the ability to help go raise a lot of money. And then less than 30 days later, everything came to a screeching halt. Just like that. We got the mandate. It wasn't a decision. We got the mandate to shut down on March 14th. And as the COVID protocol started to be adjusted, we were able to target June 16th for reopening. So we were closed for 3 months. And you may have heard me say that as a steward of this story, you cannot wallow in self-pity. It would be doing a tremendous disservice to all who call the Negro Leagues home. Fellas, these athletes never cried about the social injustice. They went out and did something about it, and so you got to carry that spirit. But let me tell you, initially, I was doing a little bit of wallowing. And ain't no doubt about it now. I ain't gonna lie. Because again, so much was riding on this. We had planned and we were ready to execute our plan. And this was going to be the thing that was going to lead to a major fundraising campaign for the museum. And, as we try to secure the long-term future of this organization, fall by the wayside. And so, yeah, you do feel a little sorry for yourself. But at some point you realize that, okay, we've got to do something to try and salvage this year as best as we can. Like everybody else, we were dealing with so much uncertainty, because you're dealing with the unknown. Hell, I didn't know anything about a coronavirus until February, when we started, this whole thing started to kind of get around that, hey, it's headed this way. And, we were starting to experience this. And all of a sudden we're embroiled in the middle of a pandemic. And none of us had ever experienced anything like that. And I hope we never experience anything like that again once we get past this thing. And so, we had to kind of revamp. And the word that comes to mind is resiliency. That is what the Negro Leagues represented. They were resilient in their spirit. And I knew that I had to adopt that same mindset. Because if I wallow, my team is going to wallow. And so I didn't need to let them see me feeling sorry or just afraid of what might happen. And so we just locked in, man. And we were able to really salvage this year in the midst of all the difficulties. We launched our virtual Tip Your Cap to the Negro Leagues. And we launched it with 4 U.S. presidents tipping their cap. President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton, President Carter, all tipping their cap in honor of the Negro Leagues. And as you guys know, in our sport, there's nothing more honorable that a baseball player can do than just a simple tip of the cap. Yeah. It is the ultimate show of respect. And so it was this crazy idea that I had to see if we couldn't do we were going to do this in stadium, initially with the players and fans. But it became very apparent that fans were not going to be allowed into the ballpark, even if there was going to be baseball. At that point, we didn't even know if baseball was going to happen because baseball and the Players Association were engaged in some very contentious negotiations to try to bring the game back. And so we had no idea if it was going to happen or not. And so we came up with this idea to do it virtual. And the next thing I know, when we launched this campaign, like I said, 4 U.S. presidents, General Colin Powell, and then iconic athletes like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Billie Jean King and my all-time favorite ball player, Henry Aaron, all tipping their cap. And then it just started to build and build and build. And the next thing you know, you had Little League teams taking pictures, tipping their cap, to the Negro Leagues. And the level of engagement around it was incredible. And then baseball did resume. And when it did come back, we went ahead and did our National Day on August 16th, even though fans couldn't be in the stands. the level again of engagement around the Negro Leagues was tremendous. And all the teams wore our Negro Leagues 100th anniversary logo on their uniform. Everybody was promoting the history of the Negro Leagues and the museum. And we saw this thing just start to really elevate. And we've been riding that high through the rest of this year. And of course, recently we announced a commemorative coin that will be minted by the US Mint and made available. It will be minted in 2022. And guys, the coin has the ability to raise some $6 million for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum if we sell them all. And then, as I mentioned, the proverbial cherry on top of the sundae, here a couple of weeks ago when Major League Baseball announced this epic decision to officially recognize the Negro Leagues just as what they were, a major league. And so it's been a banner year in the midst of a very difficult year for us. But to use a bad baseball analogy, I liken coronavirus to being that big, nasty right-hander who just threw one high and tight, knocked you down. And what do? You got to get back up, dust yourself off, get back in the batter's box, and then you got to try to figure out a way to hit this sucker. And that's exactly what we've been doing this year, is figuring out ways to hit old coronavirus. And we've had some success with it. And hopefully, 2020, 2021 will be much better, as we hopefully turn the corner on what has been a devastating pandemic, creating some most difficult times for so many people. But even like I said, in the midst of the madness, number one, we've seen the level of individual donations grow almost 3-4-fold here. People have found the wherewithal to support this museum, because you got to keep in mind, guys, in times of public health crisis, you got to take care of people. You have to take care of people. So cultural institutions like ours will sometimes get pushed, on the back burner, because you got to take care of people, and people needed help. And so the major corporations and the foundations, they were earmarking their resources to help take care of people. We understand that. So we still had to figure out a way, though, to stay solvent. And fortunately for us, we've had so many people, again, a bad pun intended, step to the plate to support this museum during what has been such a challenging time for so many people. And so it didn't matter whether the donation of $10, $5, $20, $100, $1,000, it all adds up, over the long haul, and it's helped lead the museum to a level of, sustainability during this very difficult time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys took, like you said, a difficult time and you made something very good out of it. And I'm glad to see that it's finally catching stride. And I think the introduction of the stats and just the big recognition that you guys got this year for the Negro Leagues in the MLB was much, much needed. It should have happened a long time ago. And I'm glad to see that it finally came through.
Better late than never.
Yeah, I know. I don't have any more questions, Mason. Do you have any more? No. Seems like he might be frozen.
Mason frozen in time.
Yeah, I think he is. Well, yeah. So I just want to say thank you. I know Mason wants to say thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
It means the world to get people like you onto this, because we're just trying to start it up, and to get a big name. Big names like you is really, really, really good for us. So thank you.
Well, thank you for linking me in with the big names.
Yes, sir.
Well, hopefully there'll be bigger names to come.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me know, fellas, if you need anything else in the future. So.
Okay, thank you. Have a good New Year's.
Tell Mason I said Happy New Year.
Okay, you too.
All right.
I will. Have a good one.
Okay, bye now.
Well, it looks like Mason actually got kicked out of the meeting, so I will do the outro. Thank you for watching, subscribing, sharing if you have that. Like I said, it's taking too long for them to introduce these stats in the MLB. A lot of people say, well, oh, it's not as competitive as the major leagues, but at the end of the day, it's still baseball, and baseball is a very hard sport. So with all of that being said, I wanted to say a big thank you to Bob Kendrick for coming on, and see you guys.